What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of The Three View. Today, we are joined by St. Louis Junior Blues head coach Matt Ocello. How's your off season been going? I'm sure you've been staying busy.
Yeah, definitely staying busy, Brittany. Appreciate you joining and having this. The off season's been, full of excitement for us. We're really looking forward to a good season this year. We've had a lot of good summer skates with our guys, pretty much starting a couple weeks after the season was over last year, and just taking some time off. Everybody getting rejuvenated and really excited for this coming season.
All right, awesome. Well, we'll just jump right on into things. So, last season was a rebuild for your team as you only had two players return from the previous season. What do you think was your biggest takeaway from 2024-25, and how are you going to use those lessons learned in this upcoming year?
So the biggest part is we had a really young group on last season's team. And so it was a really good learning experience for them. For them stepping in from U18 hockey or even U16 hockey into the NA3HL, I think it really opened up a lot of their eyes and understanding and seeing what it really takes to have high expectations of your play and your performance in a really good league. A lot of the players were not really familiar with the NA3HL prior to the season, but they learned very quickly that it's a very highly competitive league, especially the teams that we face in our central division. And there's no nights off in our division. So it was really good learning experience from them. We saw a lot of improvement out of all of our players throughout the course of the season. And they have high expectations out of themselves over the course of last year, but especially going into this season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we look at the expectations for your program, we take a look back at the history and, you guys are one of the most decorated teams in the NA3HL with 8 Fraser Cup champions. What is it going to take to get back to that level and be a cup contender every year?
For us, it's having the excitement and the expectation that the players have for themselves and each other to show up and compete hard every single night. We really push it into our players, the history of this program. We're very proud of that. I actually played for the first team that won the championship back in '88. So we take a lot of pride in our history of the program. As you said, we've got a lot of success in the league. We have a lot of success at moving on players all the way up to the NHL. Players like Paul Stastny, Travis Turnbull, quite a few examples. Joey Vitale, who's now a play-by-play broadcaster for the St. Louis Blues. So we've got a lot of history, and the biggest thing for us now with how the league has changed over the last few decades is we truly believe in developing our players and trying to provide them college opportunities after they've completed their play in the NA3HL. So that's really important for us. And that all starts with our legacy and the expectations that we have with the program.
And you just touched on yourself that you played for this program back in the day, and this will be your third season coaching full time in the NA3HL. How have you seen the league evolve over time and the program too?
Well, there's definitely been a lot of changes over the years. I mean, you go back to the time that I played, and the league itself was literally one of the top junior leagues just below, the North American Hockey League at the time. So my goal when I played for the team was move on to the North American Hockey League or even the USHL at that time. Our same goal really hasn't changed for that. It's try to move our players and advance our players to the North American Hockey League and now including college, whether that's ACHA or NCAA. So I don't believe that like the goal or the players have changed. It's still truly to help players move on and develop players, but it's that same competitiveness. So it's really important, as we already talked about, to make sure that our players are just doing that and are striving to have those goals.
And you just talked about moving players onto the North American Hockey League. One of your players last year, Mason Wright, who was an '06, a young player on that team, had a few opportunities in the NAHL. I think he played about 20 games at the tier 2 level. How does that motivate your players on your team? And how do you prepare to develop these players to also have the same opportunities?
Yeah, so Mason was a player that was participating with our program for like the last 4 seasons since U13, actually. So he, teammates with a lot of guys that we have on the team now. So it just shows that if you have the hard work and you put in what you need to do every day on and off the ice and develop as a individual and as a player, you're going to get those opportunities. And Mason had some call ups, obviously, uh, 2 seasons ago, very brief ones, but it gave him an opportunity to see what the league is all about. And then last season, started off the season with Shreveport and then ultimately moved on to the Oklahoma City Warriors, where he actually finished the season with them. So he had an opportunity right before Christmas. He came back and joined us for the NA3HL showcase, and he had an excellent showcase there. So there were a lot of teams that inquired about him during that period, and Oklahoma to be one of the first ones, and they reached out and they wanted to join them for the rest of the season, and that's where he ended up finishing. So we have big hopes for him this season, which will hopefully be his first full season in the North American League,
Mhm.
and we'll keep our eyes on him and hope that he continues to advance.
And Mason, like you said, played a few years in the organization. When we look at your roster, you have a large amount of players from the St. Louis area. Talk about having, such a large player pool right in your backyard and how that helps you in terms of building out your roster and also the team building, that you're able to have, knowing that these players all kind of grew up around each other.
Well, that's really key for us, right? And St. Louis is a very large hockey community. I think there's close to 7 or 8 thousand youth hockey registered players in the St. Louis area of hockey, and that includes obviously the AAA programs that we have in town as well. But our experience is that there are a lot of players that may not be getting those opportunities. So we provide that to a lot of them. A great example of that is through our own Afton Americans youth hockey program, where a lot of our players move up and develop with, and they see the opportunity with the junior team and what the junior team brings. And so a lot of our coaches work with our youth teams as well in the organization. And so a lot of players who may have the capability of playing AAA, they're kind of staying within the youth organization and eventually wanting to move right into the junior team with our club. So that has an excellent choice of that happening.
Mhm.
But then also, we are looking at the other teams in town at the tier 2 level and at the tier 1 level to add players to our program as well. So it's just an opportunity that we use. Certainly, we do look at out of town players. We have we've had quite a few out of town players last year on the team, as well as this upcoming season. We will again, but it's just a good opportunity to help those St. Louis players, provide them environment for development, and help them move on in hockey and reach the goals that they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have the Fraser Cup Championship in St. Louis every year. Last year, one of your players, Kelly Coldwater, you traded to West Bend at the trade deadline, and he was on the West Bend team during the Fraser Cup finals. We saw a lot of your players come out to support him, and he ultimately made his NCAA Division III commitment to Westfield State. Talk about how he developed as a player for you over the course of the years and how special it is to see him earn this commitment.
Well, it's a fantastic opportunity for him. I've actually had the opportunity to coach Kelly starting at the U14 level. So I've had a great opportunity to watch him develop up. And then when he joined the Junior Blues, had an opportunity to work with him for the last 3 seasons on the club. But Kelly was a great team leader for us last year. And unfortunately, right there at the trade deadline, we kind of were eliminated from the playoffs. So we wanted to give a veteran player who was in his last year junior an opportunity to participate in the playoffs and try to advance. So that was the reason for the trade.
Mhm.
But Kelly was a great team leader for us. And to me, the example of that shows when pretty much all of our team last year went out and watched the West Bend games and watched him play during the NA3HL Fraser Cup Championship. And they were kind of clearly represented, right? I know you were there, obviously, and it's
Mhm.
good to see those guys supporting their teammates and guys that they've grown up playing with. The interesting thing about that is Kelly's dad actually was on the team that I played on back in '88 as
That's
well.
cool.
So just kind of a small world, but always good to see and coach fellow guys that I played with as well. They're kids.
Mhm. And now, as we flip to this upcoming season, with your team being so young last year, how does that present the opportunity to have a large number of returners that can bring that veteran presence into the locker room and know how the league kind of works day in and day out?
It's going to be huge for us this season. We actually have 17 returning players from last year's team.
Wow.
And to our coaching staff, that really shows the environment that we provide for our players. And that was a big thing for us coming into the program, is to make sure that we're providing that environment, that players are excited to return. They know that they're getting the value and the development opportunities, not only on the ice, but off the ice as well, through our off ice program, our video sessions that we do, kind of all the way across the board. So we've really prided on that, is turning it back into an environment where players want to stay, they want to continue to develop and continue to reach our goals. So where does that go in our league? As far as this season coming up, that means higher expectations for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Using the excuse of, being a really young team in the league, that doesn't work for the coaching staff anymore, nor for the players. They know that they have a full season of development under their belt and competition in our league. And we can already see that in our training camp practices and games that we've played. The level of play has definitely increased and come up. And then certainly we have added another good group recruiting class coming in and joining the team this year. And they understand the expectations that we have set as well for them. And they're no different than the other players on the team. Come in, support each other, and that we're all pulling in the same direction.
And when you look at the new players that you'll be bringing in, what are some characteristics that you're looking for specifically on and off the ice to help, boost the competitive level on your team?
The first thing that we look at in any player, and this does not change, this is a core belief our entire coaching staff, you have to be a good teammate. You've got to come in, you got to fit within the environment, you got to have good character, and you're going to have to understand that as a player, even though you may have had great success at even last season on whatever team that you played for, that changes in junior hockey and it changes in the NA3HL because of the competitiveness of the league. So we face those players understanding that they're going to come in and work hard. Obviously, we look for guys with skill as well, but we want our players to work hard every single day that they're on the ice, as well as off the ice. From the nutrition seminars that we do, to the off-ice programs that we run, to the educational opportunities that we really work with the players on, to make sure that not only on the ice, but off the ice, they're ready to make that next step when it comes to them as well, as far as college hockey is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of finish things up here, we're just a few short weeks away from puck drop of the 2025-26 season. What are you most looking forward to with this group for the upcoming year?
Competition, high compete level. And we're going to have some fun this year while we're doing it. Our home opener kicks off September 6th versus the Peoria Mustangs. So we're really looking forward to that weekend. We've got a couple of preseason games scheduled as well that we'll get started with. But our focus this year is getting off to a really good start, number one. That's important. The first 10 games are really important from the league standpoint, kind of sets the tone. But then we're also getting in kind of a good mix of the teams from our division the first 10 games as well. So it'll be really good to see where we stack up, and then understanding how we still have, even though we have a lot of returning players, that every one of the team has to continue to improve throughout the season so that we really do make a chase for a playoff spot this year and hopefully have some success there.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for hopping on this call, and we look forward to seeing what you do this season.
Great. Thank you, Brittany.